Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey everybody, happy Tuesday. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Really excited to be able to do today's episode and today's session. I've got my great friend, Dr. Jeremy Weiss here of Rise 25. He's done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs. And today we flipped the script. He will be interviewing me. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on.
Austin, thanks for having me. And I'm excited about today because we're going to talk about the entrepreneur's real work today and what that means to you. And we're going to map it out. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control. And if anyone's listening to your podcast, which they should, you've had some amazing guests and you talk about some great topics, which is applicable to any business. I know your number one focus is not just helping your customers and growing your team, but also looking to buy pest control businesses. So if someone out there knows of someone with a pest control business in the Phoenix area with 3 or more trucks on the road, really respectable brand, contact Austin and his team. You could contact at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com or text him directly at 480-254-9730. I know there's people you've approached and worked with, Austin, who they first of all, may have not even been interested in selling and they never thought they could sell for what you paid for it. So text, email Austin, and talking about the entrepreneur's real work. And I know there's a couple things on when you define and think about the entrepreneur's real work. What comes to mind?
A lot of things. And I guess, for the record, right, it's just my opinion. But as you talk to more and more entrepreneurs, often there will be a great sense of pride about what it is that they're about. And a lot of the times it has less to do with maybe even like the product or good, maybe that they're providing or offering, although many are passionate about that, and more to do with just being a creative and being able to provide jobs and to be able to give back and to be an integral, important part of the fabric of their communities or of the places in which they reside or live. And they seem to be a lot more passionate about the ideas that they're developing and also the goods or services that they're providing to be able to help people, to be able to serve people. And so it is an exciting environment to be part of either a hyper growth type firm or culture, and to be around people that are excited to build and to be excited to create, and to be excited about being in a place that doesn't have everything figured out all of the way. You're kind of making up some of the rules as you go, or just being open to feedback and suggestions and improvement.
What I hear from you, Austin, you kind of bucket it in a couple items, which is growth and managing growth, and vision, because you have that vision, and then lots of different changes that require a lot of strategy. Talk about, as a entrepreneur, the vision part.
Yeah, I think that as you listen to different people or read or study, there's a lot of different hats that entrepreneurs and business owners wear. And I think that you've just touched on 2 of which that might be the very most important. And that is vision and then growing a company. And so I like to think of it as, your plan or your business plan, and then taking action. And so you might be able to dream up a wonderful vision or paint a really great picture of something that is yet to come or that will happen. But then the rubber's got to hit the road. And so if you're not taking action, it won't really happen. You've got to act. And so, to have the vision of whatever it is you're looking to be able to accomplish, that has got to become crystal clear. It's got to be something that you're constantly stump speeching about and reinforcing and reiterating, and really just letting everyone know, hey, look, that big giant mountain, that hill, that whatever it is, that's where we're going. And up there, this is what it looks like. That's what it smells like. This is what the water tastes like up there. And so you're constantly
You have
painting
to
this
paint
vision
the
of
picture.
constantly. Yeah, you're constantly painting that picture. And then you get up and you go to work. And so, sometimes you'll find people that are just so infatuated with that part of the process that it's just vision, vision, vision. But I think that it's important that you're right there with your people, getting the work done, supporting them, removing stumbling blocks, and showing them that, hey, we can take strides and steps every single day, every single week, every single month towards where we're going. And showing people, leading by example of how to get the job done.
I want to point out too, Austin, if it is out right now, check it out. Austin has a book, E-Myth Pest Control Contractor, Why Most Pest Control Companies Don't Work and What to Do About It, with Michael Gerber. And if it is out right now, get it, check it out. If it's not, just wait. It'll be out sometime in the near future. But when we talk about the vision part and the growth part and the strategy part, what are some of the, stumbling blocks that you've seen other people have, or that you've learned throughout your career?
Yeah, great question. And again, I can speak for me. If you're looking to be able to get into entrepreneurship or owning a business, you've heard the adage, it takes money to make money. It's definitely true. And it's no exception inside of a hyper growth model and a hyper growth environment. Growth absolutely sucks cash, and cash is king. Cash is king. And so you need that to make payroll. You need that to purchase your goods or your supplies. You need that to be able to invest in infrastructure. And so there have been different times in my career where cash has been tighter. You kind of nodded to the book, and I think that there's in fact a chapter on cash. And some funny. I mean, it's funny now. It wasn't so funny then for me, but stories of how we had a lot less of that. And now things are a little bit different. We've got more, but who knows what the future holds. And so I would certainly say one of the main stumbling blocks is cash, and either lack of it or lack of access to it. I also see a lot of times people kind of being their own worst enemy, and meaning they've scaled the company to a certain point. Maybe it's $100,000, maybe it's $500,000, maybe it's $1 million, maybe it's a few million, whatever. But then the company kind of goes through this phase where it's not really growing anymore. And it's not really growing anymore because the correct systems and processes aren't in place. And they're not in place because they've never needed to be in place before. A really dynamic entrepreneur that is willing to work 60 and 70 and 80 plus hour weeks can accomplish a lot. And often it's easier to just do the thing yourself rather than create a system around it for someone else to do it for you. And so if you've got cash or other resources, then you'll want to be able to exchange that so that you can have more time. So cash is one of them. People becoming their own worst enemies by needing to control everything or hold on to everything. And that will only get you to a certain point. You think perhaps even inside, Jeremy, of like your own organization, I mean, it's just unreasonable for you to take every phone call, reply to every email, do every session, do all of the invoicing. You know what I mean? It's just not reasonable. And so I think that goes back a couple of steps to vision. What is the vision, right? Where do you want the company to be? I think it's Cameron Herold, and I don't recall the name of his book. I think one of the chapters inside of his book, it actually may be Vivid Vision. But he talks about creating just that, a vivid vision, something that you can, with all your senses, see, taste, smell, you know exactly what that's like. You talk about like peak performance with athletes, and visualization exercises is something that they do a lot. What does it feel like to hold up that trophy? What does it sound like when you hit that shot that wins the game? What is the expression on people's faces? What is that atmosphere like? And so in business, it's no different. You want to be able to imagine those things in that environment for yourself.
I love that. Yeah. I think I've listened to Austin, all of Cameron Harold's books, and Vivid Vision, Meetings Suck, and a bunch of others. But so I love that. Thanks for the reminder on that. I forgot about that visualization piece. When I think of the E-Myth, Austin, that's also what I think about is systems, right? Because he talks about stepping into the ownership shoes and not just you're doing it, right? And I think, when we were talking before we hit record about the entrepreneur's real work, we kind of talked a little bit about the firefighting tasks and the urgent tasks versus the important tasks. And so, what are some examples that you have found as kind of the firefighting urgent, and then we'll compare them to kind of the important? Not that firefighting isn't important, but like the higher level strategic importance.
Yeah, it's sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. And sometimes that's just the way that is. I actually made a list. And so I think that there's a couple of different ways to be able to look at that. So there's firefighting, right? Sometimes it is helpful to be able to understand what something is by describing its opposites, right? And so an entrepreneur's real work is not, right? It's not writing every check. It's not making every call. It's not returning every text. It's not sitting in on every employee coaching session. It's not performing every job or making sure that all of the shipments get out on time. Yeah, those things are important. They definitely need to be done, but perhaps it's not the most important thing for the entrepreneur to be able to do. Another way that you could think about it too is like, what are the $10 an hour tasks? What are the $100 an hour tasks? $1,000 an hour tasks? And I think that you turned me on a couple of weeks ago. Oh man, and I don't, maybe you'll remember, but detox, declutter, dominate,
yes.
Right?
By Perry Marshall.
Okay. And I really like, they have a really great, you could probably just Google that and like Google image it. And they have a really great illustration of what some of those things are. And so I made a list a couple of weeks ago of like $10 an hour tasks that I find myself doing sometimes. So I listed, I'll share just a few, but like coding receipts. I wish I never had to do that. There's probably a way that I don't ever have to do that. But I'm still doing it. I've been doing that for a really, really long time. It's probably not that important. Errands. So I still sometimes run errands. Taking out the trash, I put that down there. Like I really like taking out the trash, just because. But there's probably other things that I could do at work that are not that. So those are some of my favorite $10 an hour tasks that I like to do. $100 an hour tasks, frontline employee issues. Maybe handling people that are needing to either not be at work or call outs or different sorts of things like that, approving new hires or HR type things. $1,000 an hour tasks I identified as like payroll, training, interviewing. $10,000 an hour tasks I identified as different lean initiatives inside of the company, different marketing opportunities, purchasing companies, which we're doing. Establishing and really cleaning up our learning management system and our knowledge management system. When you can get to the $10,000 an hour tasks, they usually span over your 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 or 500 employees that you have. Because if you did something that saved every employee 2 minutes, multiplied by however many employees, multiplied by however many days or weeks or months, then that really starts to add up. I want to tip my hat to the late Stephen R. Covey in Seven Habits, he just says it really good. He is famous for a lot of things, but in particular, his quadrants, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And inside of that framework, essentially he argues and says, look, you want to spend your time in Q2. Q2 things are those that are very, very, very important, but they're not urgent. And so Q2 is the same thing as your $10,000 an hour tasks, right? It's focusing on marketing, it's focusing on growing, it's focusing on those kinds of things. And so you want to be able to set up a framework that allows you the most opportunity on those $10,000 an hour tasks, or in quadrant 2, as Covey puts it.
Yeah, thanks for kind of going over that a bit, because I think that's an important point of the important versus urgent. And talk a little bit, Austin, about Jason Walton.
Yeah, Jason Walton, he's my partner, and he is. I don't even know that I've got really quite the words to be able to express how influential he's been in my life. He is brilliant. He's very, very dynamic. As far as hard working goes, I used to think that I was hardworking about 20 years ago or so, or 18 years ago, before I met him. And he just constantly, he redefined what that meant to me then. And constantly, I mean, almost weekly, he's redefining what hard work means. There's a lot of things that I love about Jason, but as it relates to an entrepreneur's real work, I think that he is just the epitome of it. And so he's the founder of Moxie Pest Control. And I've talked about the structure a couple of times, but today there's 10 partners at Moxie. I'm one of 10. He's the founding partner. And so he's partners with all of the partners that own and operate the companies locally. And he has been the quarterback, if you will, and the one that has really inspired not just us partners, but a lot of our employees, a lot of our executive teams. And, back to just the fundamentals of what Moxie Pest Control is about, it is our purpose, and that is to improve the quality of life for our customers, our team, and our community. And I constantly see Jason making decisions that do just that. And often they are at the they don't make good. I don't want to say that they don't make good business sense, but sometimes those decisions are costly. Sometimes doing the right thing takes more effort and takes more resources. Sometimes improving people's lives is not in line with maximizing your bottom line, if you understand what I'm saying. And so he's been remarkable. He's a wonderful friend. He's a great mentor. And he's inspired so many around him to improve their verbal and nonverbal and body language type skills and communication, to redefine constantly what hard work means to them, to be upright and integrous in all of the interactions and exchanges that you've got, whether it's personal, professional, or otherwise. And he's really just blazing a really cool path right now, and it's fun to be associated with that.
One of the things that sticks out when we've been talking about importance is training. I know you're a big proponent of training your team, training yourself. What are some of the things that you do to instill training in the culture?
Sure. I get asked that a lot because we're kind of fanatical in a healthy way about training, but it's definitely investment. It's not a cost. And I really think it's one of the things that gives us such a tremendous competitive advantage. And we're pretty confident, at least in our space and in most spaces, that others just refuse to do it because they do view it as a cost. And to carve out a half hour or 40 minutes or whatever it is every single day for every single employee to do daily training, most firms are unwilling to do that. And we've been doing that for the last 2 decades, decade and a half. So on top of daily training, Monday through Saturday, every single employee, every single day, we also provide opportunities for team leaders to do weekly feedback board reviews with their team. They identify either errors that they've made as it relates to customer service, policy, or whatever else to be able to say, hey, we can improve and provide more value to our customers or our teammates if we did not do these things. Let me show you a couple of things that will make your life better. We do monthly scorecard reviews. Those are really, really important. It allows players to know where they are every single day, week, month, quarter, year. And it prioritizes the most important outcomes in order of importance so that they know what they need to be focusing on. And then finally, and this isn't all, but it's just the ongoing training. We also have it's kind of built into our meeting rhythms of daily huddles and weekly meetings and monthly offsite meetings and quarterly. We also have national operations and sales retreats that are held in usually fun and interesting places like Hawaii or Cancun or wherever else. And those are really neat learning opportunities. We have been certainly in Phoenix and other markets of ours have bought in and subscribed to a lot of Vern Harnish's methodology from scaling up, and definitely taking a page out of their book with their meeting rhythms and how that saved us a tremendous amount of time. And so we're indebted to Vern for putting his ideas and many other people's ideas into his great book. And that's really helped us to scale faster, move the needle, save time, save money, and provide value to our customers.
Well, Austin, I wanted to just ask you if there's anything else that we should talk about the entrepreneur's real work. I know we talked about the vision, about the growth, about the strategy, about training, about the focus on the important and not the urgent, and systems in general. Is there anything else that we should mention about when we talk about the entrepreneur's real work?
The thing that came to mind just now, Jeremy, is a quote, and it talks about fishing, which I also like to do. I'm not very good at it, but I like it. But it kind of goes like this: you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And I think that sums up what an entrepreneur's real work is. We want to teach people how to be successful. We want to inspire people. We want to be able to give them the tools that they need to be able to thrive in any role, in any environment, in any place. And, the real beauty of that is that if you can accomplish that, achieve that, have good relationships, and do that, I mean, there is nothing that your people, that your employees will not do for you. If you can teach them and show them how to make money, how to manage money, how to learn different skills, obtain different skills, do hard things, make and keep commitments, they're going to run through walls for you. They're going to work harder. They're going to be engaged. They're going to be much more interested in carrying after company resources and customers and going the extra mile when you're not watching, because you can't be everywhere at once. And so you are putting a tremendous amount of trust into the hands of your employees that take those calls, run those service calls, and serve your customers. And so, teach people to fish, and you'll be able to provide them sustenance for the rest of their lives.
Austin, thank you. I want to just encourage them to check out more episodes of the podcast. Check out the eMyth Pest Control Contractor when it comes out. And if you know of someone who wants to sell their pest control business, then email Austin at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. Austin, thanks again for having me.
Hey, you got it. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.